Hi guys, this video is going to be about my Nclex story, how I passed the Nclex in 75 questions, and all the tips that I have for all of you out there who are going to be taking the Nclex. So stay tuned. The first thing I want to say is a little background. I graduated from my program, my accelerated nursing program in August of 2021. I received my ATT probably about the first or second week of September. And then so I scheduled my Nclex for October 14th. So I was very much in a hurry because I had a 20-day international honeymoon to go on, and I wanted to be a nurse before I enjoyed my honeymoon. That was just what I was going to do. And so I really focused on studying for that month that I had to study. And I knew that I needed to do everything in my power to pass. However, I will say, if you have the time, you're not in a hurry like I was, it is good to take your time and to really do what you need to do to focus. All right, so the first thing I want to talk about is freshening up on content. So really what I did is first thing I did was freshen up on content that I knew that I absolutely, hadn't really come back on. So the first resource that I absolutely want to mention is UWorld. UWorld is great. It is a little expensive, but it's worth every penny. I was lucky and I got a discount through my loan company, and I had a year subscription. I actually ended up giving it to a nursing student friend of mine, and she was able to use it well after I became a nurse. And so UWorld is good for rationales. When you are in the beginning stages of studying and you are not familiar with a lot of content, something you took a few semesters ago, UWorld is perfect for that, because how I would study is, say if like my subject was endocrine and I had an endocrine question and that I absolutely wasn't sure about, but I was like, okay, let me choose this answer. And if I got that answer incorrect, I would and I wasn't too sure about it, I would write down my rationale for like why I chose that answer. And then when I clicked the submit button for UWorld, I would look at the rationale that they had and why their answer was correct. And that would like click in my head of like, oh, okay. So I was able to compare the rationales that UWorld had to my own rationales and really figure out, okay, what do I need to focus on? So UWorld was great for that. However, in comparison to the Nclex, UWorld doesn't look like the Nclex. UWorld gives you too much information, and that's not what you're going to be getting on the Nclex. I'm not supposed to give like too much away, but if I had just used UWorld as a question bank before I took my exam, I would have been in for a surprise when I arrived on testing day. So the second resource I would like to mention is Archer. Archer I actually found by mistake a week before I took my Nclex. So Archer it's not as fancy as the Nclex, and their rationals are not anywhere as good, and there's like incorrect spelling. However, Archer has the CAT exams, which are very similar, which is exactly like the Nclex. That is how the Nclex tests you with CAT. Now you guys can Google and YouTube. There's tons of videos out there on like how the Nclex measures your ability to be a safe nurse, blah, blah, blah. There's tons of stuff out there like that. Just know that Archer is very similar in the fact that they have the CAT testing that you can do. And so I really like that. And what I liked about Archer is that it was the most similar to the Nclex. That's what I can tell you. It was the most similar. I was so glad I found Archer a week before my exam, because it was absolutely just like I was expecting. The next resource that I want to talk about is Mark Clement. I have never met this man in person, but he is incredible. I truly do love Mark Clement. I need to write him fan mail or whatever. So I didn't like purchase any of his sessions or anything like that, even though I kind of wanted to. I just listened to his playlist on Spotify and on YouTube, and really just like wrote down what he said. Everything that Mark Clement says, you need to be writing down, because it will be on the Nclex, and it will save your ass when you are just like stuck between something and you're just downright confused. You're like, I don't remember this. Come back to what Mark Clement said. You will not regret it. And then the next resource I want to talk about is, YouTube. YouTube is great. I love Registered Nurse RN, simple nursing. I'm a visual learner, and it absolutely helps me so much to like visualize like chest tube or visualize anything and say, oh yeah, that's right, I remember that. So really just like have all of that, that refreshing content on YouTube, just looking at those videos, using Registered Nurse RN and stuff, and just, Level Up RN's another one. Just like really just freshening up on that content that you might have forgotten about. Next up, I'm actually going to show you guys what my notes and like what my study process looked like, how I organized it, and how I organized my iCalendar to match up with my study. And so right here, I use this app called Notability. I used it all throughout nursing school. I have an Nclex section, and under the Nclex section, it is endocrine, and I just broke it down into things I needed to work on. You can see I have it broken down into UWorld rationales as well as Mark Clement, and then, UWorld rationales, Mark Clement. I had an Apple Pencil, so it made it very easy for me to do this on my iPad. I loved it. Again, everything was broken down into rationales and, Mark Clement. And then if I needed to freshen up on anything, here are all of the nursing school notes that I took. And so here is my iCal. This is how I organized my studying. I had about a little less than a month to study, and so I really focused on the topics that I knew I needed to work on. So I started number one with endocrine. I hadn't reviewed that in a little bit. And so each day was about a different subject, and in my actual agenda, I broke my studying down. So like I would get up, have breakfast, work out, and then I would study for about an hour and then take a 15 to 20 minute break. Study for like another hour, 15 to 20 minute break, have lunch, and so forth. I didn't just study all day long. I think I stopped studying at 4 or 5 p.m. because, that's when my husband gets home, and then, it's time to enjoy being with family. And so as the dates gets closer to my actual test date, it looks like I gave myself a break here on the 30th, and then I just start reviewing everything. And when I say review everything, that's when I start doing Archer questions, like assessments like crazy, just really just powering through and doing like as many questions as I can. And so the day before my exam, I didn't do anything, no assessments. I don't want any type of negativity affecting my exam. And then the day of the exam, I didn't do anything as well, because I wanted a clear, fresh mind for the Nclex. So you guys saw how I organized and everything. And so the next thing I want to say is just like some overall tips for the Nclex, some true tips. So the first one would have to be, do the week of the your Nclex, do not take any assessments. Do not do all of your assessments the week before, or like just weeks before your exam. You do not, like I went into that week of my Nclex, it was on a Thursday. I went in knowing that I was going to do like a ton of questions, but I wasn't going to have myself assessed. I felt like, I'm ready. If I'm not ready by now, then I'm not going to magically become ready. And I didn't want to do like well on an assessment and then go into the Nclex all confident, like overly confident, And then I didn't want to do terrible on an assessment and then go into the Nclex thinking like I'm a piece of shit or anything like that. So it's like, for me, it was really beneficial to go into the Nclex with a clear mind and not thinking about like, what I got on assessments. So yeah, get your assessments out at least a week before your exam. And another thing I will say is the day before your exam, do not do any questions. Don't do anything. If anything, maybe watch like a video or something that's like, you know, from registered nurse RN, maybe something that you're like, okay, I just need like a quick little refresher, maybe that. But do not start answering questions, because then that's not going to help you. I feel like if you don't know what you need to know by the day before your Nclex, you don't know it. And it's not going to help you to try to cram. So honestly, the day before, have some tea, take a bath, have a nice solid like dinner, just do things that bring you joy. And then you'll have a clear mind for the Nclex going into it. And so the next tip is I booked my Nclex for the afternoon. I did not want my exam being at 9 or 9:30 in the morning. That's crazy. That's insane. I wouldn't have been able to like collect my thoughts. I wouldn't have had time to get ready. I would have been rushed, and it wasn't gonna happen. And so if you can, book your exam in the afternoon. I booked mine for 1 p.m. And I knew that that was the right decision for me, because I would have enough time to relax, take a bath, walk my dog, you know, do things that brought me joy, and then think about the Nclex. And so the day of the Nclex, you know, just relax. I absolutely relaxed as much as I could. I relaxed. I did what I had to do to like put myself in a calm space, and this calm, made myself into this calm being, this calm, confident being that was going to pass the Nclex. And so I didn't drive into Boston. I live about 35 minutes away from it on the North Shore. And so I took the commuter rail into Boston to take my exam. And so I, you know, as soon as I got on the train, I put on my headphones. I listened to Beyonce. I absolutely love her. I think she's a goddess. She's incredible. And so I had her playing the entire time, the entire ride. And then, you know, I just kept on saying positive affirmations. I closed my eyes and I said, you know what? Today is the day that I become a nurse. Today is the day that I am going to pass the Nclex. And I just kept on saying things like that to myself. I said, I'm going to pass the Nclex. I'm going to pass the Nclex. Now, you know, I don't care that I looked crazy on the train saying that, because I knew that that's what I needed to do to have the confidence to go into that exam and do what needed to be done. So you have to realize that you need to do whatever you have to do, you know, to set yourself up mentally for what's going to come. And so when I got to the testing site, it was very refreshing. Another tip I will say is don't share your test date. I absolutely did not share my test date with anyone besides my husband and my mother, because I knew those are the two people who were going to be supporting me emotionally when I finished the exam. And I was absolutely right. I got really worried that I had failed the exam because I finished in 75 questions. And so I really had to rely on them for emotional support. And so, you know, I didn't tell any of my friends, none of my nursing school friends. I didn't tell anyone except for those two people. And honestly, I feel like that put the pressure off of me a little bit. You know, no one knows if you failed the Nclex if you don't tell them. And so, just, do what you think is best. But I honestly feel like that, only telling those two people really calmed my nerves. And the last thing I can say, honestly, is, don't get too caught up in, passing on the first try or passing in 75. Do your best, eliminate all distractions, and, study your ass off, and you're going to pass in 75. I can tell you right now, I didn't really do social events or anything the entire month I was studying because none of that mattered. I needed to become a nurse. So, you know, do what you think is best, but I can honestly say that if you put in the time, you know, you put in the effort, you will pass the Nclex on the first try. And if you haven't, you know, there's tons of videos out there of people who have taken it multiple times and they're absolutely fine. It's not the end of the goddamn world. You survive nursing school, you can definitely survive the Nclex. I promise. So another tip is when you're looking at the Nclex questions, do not rush through them. There's no need to. There's a lot of time to complete the questions you need to complete. I can tell you that right now. So I went into my exam and I finished in less than an hour. That was entirely unintentional. I passed in 75 and did it in under an hour. Like I said, absolutely unintentional. And I'm someone who read the questions over 1 to 3 times, some more. So I absolutely like reread the question because, you know, you remember nursing school, that stuff was tricky. It's like, wait, are they asking me that? Are they really asking me that? Is that answer that I'm thinking about choosing? Is that what they're looking for? And so what you really want to do is you want to reread the question, and honestly, they give you a scrap, like they give you a board. Some might give you a scrap piece of paper, but I remember I got a dry erase board. And you really want to like break the question down if you have to. Okay, boom, and what are they asking me? And so an example, if you see like an out of whack lab value, you know, potassium is 2.5 or 3 point whatever, potassium is low or potassium is very high, that doesn't necessarily mean that that's the correct answer. You know, pay attention to what they're asking you. They're not, you know, they're not dumb. They make this exam because they really want to make sure you're paying attention. You know, everyone knows that, you know, too low potassium and too high potassium is terrible, but is that what they're asking you in that question? So just really take your time and pay attention to what they're asking you.